Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our Leadership Basics training. My name is Dadra Driscoll, and I am excited to be sharing with you on the topic of leadership. And because it is the beginning of a new year, I want to wish everyone a happy new year. I trust that you are excited about the possibilities that 2026 can bring for you. And this is a wonderful way to start it off, both professionally and in your personal life. So let's go ahead. As I mentioned, my name is Dadra Driscoll. I am a member of the John Maxwell Leadership Team, and I am excited to be sharing some nuggets with you on the topic of leadership. We're going through the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. It's an amazing book. I am by no means giving you an exhaustive, full-fledged training. We're just doing some snippets on the different topics for the sake of our Sunday calls. So this week, we will be talking about the law of the mirror. Law number 3, the law of the mirror. You must see value in yourself and add value to yourself. And I want you to take a moment to think about that, jot it down or screenshot it, because that is a really profound statement. You must see value in yourself and add value to yourself. The law of the mirror. Now, many years ago, Michael Jackson had a song where he said, "I'm starting with the man in the mirror." Perhaps some of you remember that song. But when it comes to developing yourself, it's all about potential. I want you to take a look and think when you look in the mirror, both figuratively and literally, what do you see? Because developing self is about potential. If you look at this little picture, we see a cat, but when he looks in the mirror, he sees a lion. What do you see when you look in the mirror? Now, this is a very personal thing, and it's something that often when we're in groups, when we're in the group chat with the team, when we're at events, everyone puts on their game face. But it's when you're by yourself that the truth is exposed. Every morning when you get ready to get started, who do you see? How do you feel about what you see and what's ahead? All of it is going to hinge on your potential and how you view and develop that. So let's start by talking about that word potential. Potential means something that can develop or become actual, a latent ability or a possibility for future success, existing but not yet realized. Potential means something that can develop or become actual. It's a latent ability or a possibility for future success, existing but not yet realized. So when you consider your goals and your dreams and aspirations, it's something that may not be realized yet, but it is there. You have the potential to be, and then you fill in the blank. Because what a person wants to be is not going to be the same. Everyone, all of us are travel agents. So in theory, we all want to be successful travel agents. But what that means to each person is different. For some people, success is defined by a specific dollar amount. For some people, success is defined by having a team of a certain size or doing certain kinds of bookings. But whatever your personal definition of success is, you have the possibility. The possibility is there, the potential is there for you to develop into whatever that is. That lion in the mirror that we just saw on the previous slide, you can become that lion. It is absolutely possible, but whether or not you realize it is going to depend on a few things, and you are at the very center of that. So let's take a look in the mirror. Now, your view of yourself determines your behavior. Now, there's no shame. So let me start off by giving my disclaimer. As we're talking about these things, If any of the examples that I give are you, do not take it personal. It is not a critique. We are all in the same boat together. We're starting out 2026 ready to become that best version of ourselves. But it starts with that look in the mirror. So, what you see when you look in the mirror at yourself may not be what I see when I look at you. Often, and I'm sure everyone on this call knows someone who has low self esteem. And you may look at them and think that they're beautiful, but they think that they're ugly. You may know someone that you think is an amazing person, and they don't feel that way about themselves. As much as we may want something for someone else, it's going to be determined by what they want for themselves or what they see when they look in the mirror. So that's why I started by saying, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? When you look at your business, so to speak, in the mirror, what do you see? Because your view of yourself is going to determine your behavior. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the year, we've got people making resolutions, some that they're keeping, many that they're not. You've got people doing vision board parties and putting things up and going through a ritual of saying, this is what I'm going to do for this year. But whether or not any of those things come to pass is going to be determined by our behavior. And our behavior is fueled by how we see ourselves. Again, if you're in a group with a bunch of people that are positive and you're going, rah, 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 yeah, we can do it. That's fine when you're with the group. But when it comes time when you're by yourself and you have to put your hand to the grindstone and do it yourself, how you view yourself is going to really determine how successful you are. The next point is one will never outperform their self-image. You will never outperform your self-image. So if deep down inside you don't think you can be successful, you won't be successful. And so that's why we want to talk about this view through the mirror, because we want you to see yourself as you were created. We want you to see yourself with all the potential to be any and everything that your heart desires. But until you adjust how you see yourself, you won't. And that's a tough thing to say. Now, again, right now, they say, these first few weeks of the year, the gyms all across the country are packed with people who have all of these aspirations for the summer body they want. Now, if you go a few weeks from now, the gym might not be so crowded. But right now, we're just in the first week. The gym is packed with people who are working out and they've got visions of bikinis and beach life and all of that. And for us as travel agents, that's amazing because we want them to travel and go and show off all those wonderful bodies. But I mention that because how many times have we started out with the goal, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out for X amount of time, X number of days a week, and I'm going to change my diet to this, and we've got a whole list of things. But then the reality sets in and we're thinking, you know, I don't really want to go to the gym 5 days a week or 7 days a week. I don't want to work out for an hour. I don't want to watch what I want to eat. I want to eat what I want to eat, or things like that. And then before you know it, we're not doing whatever that goal was. But a lot of that also ties into self-image. For some people, it's hard to envision themselves as whatever that end result will be. If your goal was to lose 20 pounds, some people don't have a vision of what they would look like 20 pounds thinner, or they're kind of afraid of what that might be, or I don't know what your number is. I just picked a number that I felt would be safe. But whatever it is, how do you see yourself? Are you worthy of having that beach body? These are important things to ask yourself. So when it comes to your business, What are the goals that you have? Like I said, for some people, it may be a specific monetary goal. Other people, it may be the size of your team. But do you see yourself as being successful and capable and able to do those things? The value we put on ourselves is the value others will put on us. Now, this is especially true when it comes to business. Often, when I talk to people and I'm doing trainings with people, and we talk about your posture, your professional posture, I tell people, when I'm listening to someone talk, I can tell why someone might not do business with them. Because if you consider the nature of what we do, as travel agents, we're asking people to entrust us with their credit card number, their most personal information, their financials, so that we can book thousands of dollars. They have to see us as trustworthy. They have to see us as an expert at what we're doing. They have to trust us. And so if you don't trust yourself in your business, it shines through when you're talking to someone. Now, of course, no one is walking around with a sign up that says, I'm scared and I'm new and I don't know what I'm doing. But the way you convey who you are to someone else may be saying that, if that's what you feel deep down. Often it's a lot of information. When you first sign up, it feels like someone is trying to, give you a drink from a fire hose. It's all this information. And if you haven't been booking travel, in a professional setting before this, it can seem overwhelming, but it's not insurmountable. It's not impossible, but it's really going to depend upon who you see yourself as. Who do you say that you are? Because that's who people are going to see you as. We joke when people talk about, your little travel business. How you respond to something like that means everything. If you respond in kind of, yeah, I just got started and I'm hoping to get my business off the ground, you're talking like that little travel business. Remember when we first opened up on that opening slide, the cat was looking in the mirror and saw a lion. When someone talks to you about your business or you talk to someone about your business, they should feel like they're on the line with the most amazing business person ever. Even if this is your first booking of this type, they don't have to feel like they're booking with you for the first time or your first time, because you have access to all of the information necessary to be successful in the booking, but it's going to be up to you to put forth the face of a professional, the face of a specialist, coming across like, I know what I'm doing, even if you're still learning, because guess what? All of us are still learning. There's never going to be a point where you can dot the last I or cross the last T and say, I have learned all there is to learn. So you're always going to be learning. So don't feel as if there's some point, if I can just do one more training, then I'll be good enough. No, that's not how it works. You have to see yourself, see your potential, see your ability to be successful. And that's how other people will see you. But again, if you are tentative, if you're timid and scared, or you sound like you're not successful, that's how your clients and your prospects are going to view you. And often when you send off a quote and they never respond and they ghost you, that's the real reason they're ghosting you, is because they're not so sure that they should give you their business. That's a tough mirror, but it's okay. We want to just be honest, because if we realize that's what it is, we can fix it. Because often agents are, well, I don't know why they're not responding. Well, because you sound like you're scared and you're going to lose their credit card number or share it with the wrong people, and they're not wanting to give you $10,000 of their money for a vacation. But if you can make those adjustments as far as how you see yourself, even though you're still learning, because you're going to always be learning. And as long as you realize you've got behind you a system and a network of all of the answers you could possibly need. So anything that you don't have, you can get. That will change how you see yourself once you understand that and believe that. Now, if you're at a stage where you say, I don't know who to call, I don't know how to get the information, then that's good because you can pinpoint that's something that can be fixed. But if you're just off on an island, woe is me, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know, I don't think I can, trust me, if that's how you feel, that's what it is. Now, my good friend John C. Maxwell would say, if you place a small value on yourself, rest assured the world will not raise the price. As a business person, you have to see yourself as the subject matter expert, as the top in whatever your niche is, as the person they need for the service they want. And that may take some practice. If up until this point you've been that person with low self-esteem or nervous and afraid to talk to people, then that might be the thing that you need to work on. Because again, you don't want to be the one who places a small value on yourself. Because again, if you do, so will the people you're dealing with, whether it's a potential business partner or if it's a potential travel client. They need to trust in you that you can show them the way or provide them the service. And that starts with you trusting in yourself that you can do that. Because this is the law of the mirror. Who do you say you are? Because that's going to determine how other people see you. So let's talk about some steps to building your self-esteem. Number one, guard your self-talk. Watch what you're saying about yourself. I mean, often, like when I mentioned when I talk to people, I just listen and let them talk first. And it gives me a really good synopsis of how they see themselves. Because if they're talking in a self-defeating way, if they're belittling themselves, if they're talking, woe is me, I don't know, I don't think I can do this, I don't, if it's negative, that self-talk, you are hearing it. Now, because I do come from a faith-based perspective, the Bible is going to tell us, that as a man speaketh in his heart, so is he. If you're constantly saying negative things, you are planting and watering and tending to and cultivating and growing negativity on the inside of you. If you're in a situation where your first thought your first option, the first thing you come out of your mouth is negative, that's because what's deposited on the inside of you is negative. And it's a matter of, just like when it comes to plants, pulling up weeds and adding fertilizer, it's the same way with your heart, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And if the real truth, not the public truth that you show up with at the pep rally, if the real truth is that you don't think you're going to be successful, that's what you're watering and planting. And we've got to adjust that. And we have to police it because it's really easy. Perhaps you grew up in an environment of negativity or people who weren't supportive. And so they said certain things about you and you took it to heart. If that's the case, then it's going to be a matter of changing what you're saying about yourself. So think about it. I'm not going to ask you, like for a show of hands or to jump in the chat and admit if that was you. But if you have been saying negative things about yourself, about your business, about the things that you want out of life, let's make a notation that we've got some gardening to do. We've got to go in and pull up those negative thoughts. Now, maybe you're the first entrepreneur in your family. Now, this is an interesting one because often if you come from a family of people who have holistically worked 9 to 5 jobs, they've worked for 40 years and got the watch at the end, they're not going to readily understand your entrepreneurial spirit or your entrepreneurial aspirations. And so often they may say things against what you're doing, not because they don't love you or they don't care, but it's just different from their way. Because again, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, that's a whole different ball game than the traditional 9 to 5. And you know that. But often people around you will say things, and again, it's because they're speaking from their point of view and not necessarily yours. So you don't want to adopt what they're saying about you and start saying it about yourself. So let's start one by guarding our self-talk. Secondly, we want to stop comparing ourselves to anyone else. Your journey is yours. Now, even though you may have the same or similar goals as someone else, your road to that goal may not be the same. So just because somebody else seemingly, and I'm going to say that quote unquote with the air quotes, someone else seemed like they got an overnight success and your success is taking a little bit longer, doesn't mean that you're not on the road to success. And most people that are viewed as having an overnight success, if you actually talk to them, you find out it wasn't so overnight. It just looked overnight. So don't compare yourself to someone else. Be focused on what your goal is, on what your road is, what your path is, and make sure that each day you're being deliberate and intentional about staying on that course. As long as you stay on your course, you're being successful. The amazing thing, we used that gardening example earlier. If you consider the roots that are under the ground versus what's sprung up from the dirt, there's some plants that have an extensive root system before you ever see a blade come up. There are others, like some types of grass will grow real fast, and some things will grow faster than others, but that root system is important. So you might be in that root season where it doesn't appear above ground and people aren't seeing it. But that doesn't mean that you aren't growing and that you aren't doing the things that are necessary. So if you're going to be a strong leader, it's going to be important that you understand that about yourself and that you're also able to help cultivate that in those that are around you, which brings us to point number 3, add value to others. A really interesting real thing is that hurt people hurt people. You know, if you grew up and there were people that were bullying you, the bully usually was the one with the issues, and they would project it on other people. So for you, part of building your self-esteem is going to also come from adding values to others. Because as you are not only adding value to yourself and watering yourself and guarding your self-talk, if you're also speaking those positive things about the people around you, that's going to help cultivate your self-esteem as well. Because when you help someone else and you see them flourishing, it also reinforces something within you. So you want to also add value to others rather than tearing people down. Then we want to move beyond our own self-limiting beliefs. Now, sometimes we have things that it may have been things that we were taught growing up. It may be things that we learned in school. It may be things that we just picked up along the way of life that has limited us when it comes to our success. And we've got to learn how to move beyond that. When I mentioned earlier about, perhaps coming from a family of people who were staunch, traditional workforce people, and now you're out here trying to do this entrepreneur thing, you might have some self-limiting beliefs when it comes to being able to be successful outside of a system. Some people can't see themselves ever being able to quit, quote unquote, their traditional job because of the security. Knowing that every 2 weeks or the 1st and the 15th or the 1st of the month or whatever your pay cycle is, that there's going to be a paycheck can be a limiting belief when it comes to stepping out on faith when it comes to your business. Now, I'm not saying that to say to turn in your notice and quit your job. I'm simply saying that I want you to look at whether or not the comforts of the structure of your job can become a limiting belief when it comes to establishing yourself as an entrepreneur. But there are lots of self-limiting beliefs. When I mentioned being able to see yourself as something, if when you're the cat looking in the mirror, if you don't see the lion, you've got to figure out why I can't see a lion. Because there's some people who think, well, that could never be me. If you've ever been at a convention or one of our events and you see people walking across the stage and they're getting those big plaques, if you can't see yourself in that, oh, I don't think I could ever be a platinum, or I don't think I could ever book $1 million, or whatever the thing may be, there's a self-limiting belief that prevents you from seeing that. Often when it comes to people who need to improve themselves physically, we use that gym example. Some people aren't able to see themselves as that small bikini size if they're at a different size, and it hinders them from ever getting there because they can't envision themselves like that. Or often, sometimes people will lose weight and they have a I think they call it dysmorphia. That might not be the correct word, but when they see themselves, even though they have lost weight, the image they see in the mirror is someone who's still that bigger person. So you want to make sure you move beyond those self-limiting beliefs. Now, Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or think you can't, either way, you're right. Whether you think you can or think you can't, either way, you're right. So I want you to take a moment because this is the law of the mirror. I want you to think about those elements of your business or your personal life, whatever those goals are when it comes to you as a leader. Do you think that you can or do you think that you can't? Be honest with yourself. It's okay. Because whatever the answer is, the next step is something that you can make a difference in. If you think you can't, we can figure out how to change that to a can. And if you think you can, then we can help you move on down that road of being successful. But in either case, what you think about yourself is going to really be the deciding factor, not what other people think about you, but what you think about yourself. If you think you don't have enough time, you don't have enough time. If you think you don't have enough money, you won't have enough money. If you think you don't know how to, or that you're not smart enough, then guess what? You're not. Not that you couldn't be, but because you think that you're not, that's going to be the limit that is automatically imposed on you. So let's work on improving our self-esteem. I want each of you, this is your homework assignment, to identify one limiting belief that you want to change. Now, I know many of us may have several. I just want you to identify one, and I want you to write it down. Whether you're using the notes in your phone, or you've got an actual physical paper notebook and pen, or you're on a tablet, I want you to take a moment and identify one limiting belief that you want to change. And be honest with yourself. Because it's one thing if everyone around you is going rah, 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 and they've got the pom-poms and you can do it. But if you don't think you can do it, they can cheer all day. That's not going to get you across the finish line. So I want you to identify one limiting belief. And then once you've written it down, I want you to create a turnaround statement that affirms or gives you permission to act, feel, or think differently. Now, there's power in that last statement, so I'm going to say it again. I want you to create a turnaround statement that affirms or gives you permission to act, feel, or think differently. Perhaps you have grown up in a family that has not been well off, and you've got goals and desires of becoming the first millionaire in your family, but all of the real life evidence you've grown up with has limited your belief. You don't think you can get out of a low income area or neighborhood, but you have desire of living in a gated community. It may be that you've got to create that turnaround statement that affirms or gives you permission to act, feel, or think differently. It's okay. Give yourself permission. Just because it's always been one way doesn't mean it has to continue to be that way. Just because you grew up in a certain situation or environment, you can give yourself permission to do something different. Now, for some of you who may be of a certain age and grow back far enough, this may make sense to you. Others, if you're younger, just work with me. But I grew up in a time, there used to be a sitcom uh, that was on television that was called Good Times. And I had a friend when I was in high school who used to call me Thelma. And he would make all of these jokes and say, "Oh, Thelma, you're going to make it out of the ghetto one day." And he would make jokes about it. But it was funny because later on in life, when I went on to do some other things, I ran across him later on, and he made this comment. He said, "You made it out of the ghetto, Thelma." And it was a little joke between us. But the reality was he knew and saw something in me even back when we were young that I wanted more and I was going to do something different. But for some people, it's difficult. And until you give yourself permission to break those generational curses and cycles and to do something different and to feel different and to think different, it's going to be hard for you to see that other image in the mirror. It doesn't matter what's going on around you right now. That's not the end of the story. And you can give yourself permission to change and to change that situation and to view that situation differently. So identify your one limiting belief. Now, it doesn't mean that you can only have to do this one time. For the sake of the assignment, it's just doing it one time. But if you've got 5 limiting beliefs, then create 5 turnaround statements, because it's going to be the power in that turnaround statement. And for you to start feeding and watering yourself with those turnaround statements, that's going to help you change and cultivate that lion in the mirror. Now, here, I have a couple of mentors in my life that whenever I'm around them at events and things, they put their ring on my hand. So for those of you who I'm sure you may recognize these are the Evolution Travel 6-figure rings. So as you can see on one picture, I have one ring. On another day, 2 of them handed me their rings. Yes, they're heavy. Yes, they're big. But for those of you who have aspirations and you want to become a platinum consultant or you want to be a 6-figure earner, I want to challenge you to go to one of your leaders and ask them. Now, you got to be at an evolution event to do this so you can get one. Ask them, can you put their ring on? They will gladly take it off and hand it to you and take a picture. Because when I was preparing for this, I realized I've got a picture from every event that I go to where I have someone's ring on. Most of the time, it's my same because my directs want me to have a 6-figure ring. So they always I had a picture where I have like 5 rings on my hand. I couldn't find it for this training, and I know I'm going to find it as soon as we get off tonight. But I had several different leaders all hand me their ring, and I took a picture, and I looked like Thanos. But the point was to help give myself that visual. When we looked at that picture at the beginning with the cat looking in the mirror and seeing the lion, it may be that you need to take a picture in a 6-figure ring so that when times are tough, you can pull it back out and you can look at it and you can visualize your hand with a 6-figure ring on it. Or maybe you need to go into the evolution page and grab one of those banners and put your face there and put your name there and put it up. Make it a screensaver on your phone or put it on your mirror in the bathroom. I don't know, wherever it's going to be important, where you're going to see it regularly. Maybe, you want to be a gold, you want to be a platinum, you want to be $1 million in sales. It doesn't matter what it is. In order for you to begin looking in the mirror and seeing yourself, maybe, just maybe, it would help you to do that. Now, if you're trying to lose weight, it might be, valuable for you to get a picture of someone who's the size you want to be and put your face on. Now, the way AI is, oh, AI can fix you up fabulous and you can look like a whole rock star. But again, maybe it's that you need to see yourself at that goal weight or see yourself driving a certain thing or see yourself living, with a certain type of home and all of those kind of things. But again, part of that experience is for you to visualize and be able to see yourself there so that you realize what's obtainable. So the question is, which mirror are you looking in? And it's going to be important that we choose wisely because some of us, as I mentioned, we may have grown up with that broken mirror. We might have not always had an encouraging situation. But that doesn't mean that that's the end of the story. Just because people told you that you couldn't do something or that you would never be something, that doesn't mean that that's the end of the story. All it takes is one good positive turnaround to change the entire trajectory of your life. Imagine, I grew up, I had a season in my life where my home environment was not healthy. It was verbally abusive and lots of negative things being said. But I went to school, I will never forget, because I was in the 5th grade. And I'd been going through these situations at home. Hadn't told anybody, hadn't said anything, but because I always believe, the Lord is looking out for you in ways that you wouldn't look out for yourself. I went to school one day, and one of my teachers just happened, there was a group of us in the room, and she just started talking to each of us, and she was speaking life to us. Had nothing to do with the official lesson. It was after class, and she just started talking to us. And she said something to me. I had just been being told that I didn't have any common sense and I wasn't going to be anything. Horrible thing to tell a young child, but it was what it was. And just out of the blue, she said, Dadra, you have more common sense than any grown person I know. And if you ever ran for president, I would vote for you. That was what my teacher said to me. Now, me, because I was the kind of kid I was, I turned around and told her, well, I wouldn't want to run for president because if I ran for president, everyone would blame everything on me, even though it wasn't my fault. And we laughed about that. Later on, once I got in high school, my senior year in high school, I ran for class president. When I went off to college, I became president. I was president of some things. And I found her and went back to her and told her that all those years. Because again, that was 5th grade. So by the time I graduated from high school, I was on my leadership quest and I went back. But that one statement from her drowned out all of the other negativity. Because whenever I heard the negative, I also heard her voice and I heard the positive, and it drowned out the negativity. So when we mention the mirror you're looking in, if you've come out of a situation where things weren't favorable or people weren't encouraging, all it takes is one right word, one positive affirmation, one turnaround statement to change the trajectory that you're on. Just because people have told you you wouldn't be successful in your business isn't the end, because I'm here to tell you the fact that you chose to get on one of these calls on a Sunday means that you can be successful in your business. It means that there is success on the horizon. It means that there is a lion in the mirror. You've just got to look into the right mirror. So, for those of you who may have come out of those situations, don't let that be the end. Don't let that be the last mirror you look in. Also, if you have team members that are coming out of that negativity, that one positive, encouraging word from you could be the one that changes the direction of their business. You telling them that they can make it, that they can be successful, that they are going to do wonderful and thrive in their business. Those positive words from you can help change the mirror for your team. What are you saying to the team? That makes a difference as well. Now, if you look in the mirror and you do not see a capable, worthy, and fully valuable person, you need to change either the reflection or get a new mirror. For some of you, this team and this family is going to be that new mirror for you. It's going to be important that you leave this call being able to say about yourself that you're capable, that you're worthy, and that you're a fully valuable person, because you are. No matter what it is that you're desiring, no matter what your background is, your future can be bright if you believe that. Now, if someone is on your timeline on social media talking about a cruise, you want to jump back and say, hey, I'd love to take care of that for you. I'm a cruise specialist. You need to see yourself as capable, worthy, and fully valuable. Change what you're saying about yourself, and you will see those outcomes start happening. But it starts with the mirror. What do you see when you look in the mirror?